David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, the breaking news, what we have now learned tonight about that horrific and deadly crash between a passenger jet and a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport. What authorities are now saying that fire truck did not have. And after being told it could cross the runway, how many seconds before the collision was the fire truck then told to stop? And what we're now learning tonight about the two pilots and about the flight attendant found on the runway ejected from the plane, still strapped into her jump seat. Also developing tonight with millions of Americans waiting some up to 6 hours in TSA security lines. Some passengers returning today after missing their flights yesterday. Tonight, our correspondent asking lawmakers on the Hill, is it fair that the ICE agents sent into these airports are getting paid, but the TSA security officers are not? Tonight, the war in Iran. President Trump says talks with Iran have started, but the Pentagon is now ordering up to 1,500 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne to the Middle East now. Also late today, the president at the White House now saying Iran has sent a present. Tonight, the wife on the stand, her husband, a doctor, charged with attempted murder, accused of trying to push his wife off the cliff on a hiking trail, and what she testified that he said to her as he came at her with a syringe. The breaking headline just in tonight, the jury's decision now in a major civil trial involving Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, involving child safety. Tonight, the American citizen freed by the Taliban after more than a year in prison. The massive blast and fire at an oil refinery in Texas. The driver charged after plowing into a crowd. Multiple people rushed to the hospital, tonight facing DUI charges. Take a close look at this tonight. There's something on that shelf of stuffed animals that isn't quite what it seems. Also tonight here, Trader Joe's issuing a massive recall tonight involving frozen food, 43 states. And major news this evening involving Celine Dion.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight with new developments here after that deadly runway collision, a passenger plane crashing into a fire truck that crossed right in front of that incoming plane at LaGuardia Airport here in New York. Tonight, the NTSB now revealing early clues behind the horrific crash involving that Air Canada Express passenger jet and the fire truck. The chilling video showing the moment of impact. The fire truck had been given permission to cross the runway by air traffic control, and then 9 seconds before the collision, suddenly told to stop. And tonight, authorities now revealing that fire truck was missing key equipment that would have triggered a warning. It did not have a transponder that could have signaled a collision was imminent. Tonight, what we're now learning about the two pilots and about the flight attendant found on the runway alive. She'd been ejected from the plane, still strapped into her jump seat. ABC's Gio Benitez leading us off again tonight from LaGuardia Airport.
Tonight, federal investigators on the scene of that horrific crash at LaGuardia Airport have revealed that the fire truck crossing the runway did not have the equipment that could trigger a warning, lacking a transponder that would have helped alert the controllers that the fire truck and the plane were on a collision course in the seconds leading up to the crash.
We have no indication there were transponders on any of the trucks, but there are transponders on other trucks at other airports, across the nation.
The NTSB reporting that the LaGuardia Airport tower gave that fire truck permission to cross the runway about 20 seconds before the collision. Then, just 9 seconds before impact, you hear the controller yelling for the truck to stop.
Stop, truck one, stop, truck one, stop.
1 second later, the plane landing and slamming into the fire truck. The NTSB says at around 11:40 p.m. when the crash occurred, there were 2 controllers in the tower doing the work of 4, which authorities say has become standard operating procedure at that hour, one of them admitting he messed up.
That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know, I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
The NTSB is going to want to interview these 2 controllers and ask them, do they feel like they were being overwhelmed with this emergency aircraft on the other runway, trying to get a fire truck across the left-hand runway?
The wreckage still sitting next to runway 4. Investigators say they had to cut a hole in the roof to get access to the black boxes. They're now in Washington being analyzed. And tonight we've learned that in the middle of all of this, the TSA security line chaos also affecting the investigation. An investigator trying to get to the scene had to wait 3 hours to get through security. Investigators will also want to hear from passengers who had to self-evacuate after the crash.
Every time I close my eyes, I hear the crash. I hear our screams. I hear the panic.
Rebecca LaQuarrie was in seat 19A, the exit row.
I opened mine on the left side. The person on the right side opened his.
The pilot, Antoine Forrest, just 30 years old. His brother writing in French on Facebook, "You left in a rush too early to say bye. I love you, my brother. You can leave with your head held high." A source telling ABC News the co-pilot is Mackenzie Gunther, who graduated from Canada's Seneca Polytechnic in 2023. His alma mater writing, "Seneca sends our deepest condolences to Mr. Gunther's family and friends, and to his former colleagues and professors. He will be deeply missed." And that flight attendant, Solange Tremblay, who was thrown from the plane, still strapped to her seat, identified by her daughter Sarah, telling a Canadian news station, "It was a total miracle. She definitely has a guardian angel watching over her." And David, those investigators are still here at the scene right now here at LaGuardia Airport. They had to cut that hole in the roof to get those black boxes. And remarkably, in that fire truck that was crushed and rolled over, those firefighters, despite broken bones, are in good spirits. In fact, one of them was released from the hospital last night. David.
That is encouraging. Gio Benitez on this again tonight for us. Gio, thank you. We are also following the unfolding chaos at several of America's airports. Those long TSA security lines, TSA workers going without pay for weeks now amid the partial government shutdown. With millions of Americans waiting, some up to 6 hours in those lines. Some passengers today say they were returning after missing their flights yesterday. Tonight here, ABC's Jay O'Brien asking lawmakers on the Hill, is it fair that the ICE agents sent by the president to these airports are getting paid, but the TSA security officers are not? Here's Jay O'Brien.
Tonight, as Americans suffer hours-long wait times at some of the nation's largest airports and thousands of TSA officers go without a paycheck after 39 days, glimmers of hope on Capitol Hill.
The line continues to go.
It's inhuman. There's no water, no bathrooms. I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
Houston seeing some of the highest call-out rates in the nation. TSA lines stretching across 3 floors, snaking all the way to the subway terminal. KTRK's Sarah Al-Sheikh is there.
It's a bit like deja vu for some travelers here at Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. Many people in this TSA line say they actually missed their flights yesterday and had to come back to stand in line again today.
Adding to the headache, airline officials now warning that ticket prices could increase as much as 20% to cover surging jet fuel costs due to the war with Iran. But tonight, after weeks of gridlock, Senate Republicans changing course, proposing funding every agency inside Homeland Security except immigration enforcement and tackling money for ICE in a later bill.
It is essentially what the Democrats have been asking for. And so we're going to have an opportunity to vote on that.
Democrats have called for passing funding to parts of DHS while also demanding ICE reforms, like requiring agents remove masks and wear body cameras. And tonight say the new proposal doesn't go far enough.
We need reforms to ICE. We need to rein in the violence. We have never changed our position.
President Trump, who told Republicans to make no deal unless his Voter ID Act is passed, late today on these new negotiations.
I guess they're getting fairly close, but I think any deal they make, I'm pretty much not happy with it.
And tonight, with the president sending ICE agents to airports across the country, the reality amid the chaos, those ICE agents are getting paid, while TSA officers are not. ICE was given an extra $75 billion in Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
What do you say to Americans who say it's unfair that those ICE agents are being paid, but TSA agents standing next to them at the airport aren't?
They're right. I mean, they are completely right. The Republicans pre-funded ICE with an equivalent of about 7 years of their budget.
David, bottom line, there is no deal yet, so those bipartisan negotiations will continue with tens of thousands of DHS employees like these TSA officers left in limbo, and Congress is set to leave on Friday for a 2-week recess. David.
For their Easter break. Jay O'Brien, thank you. Now to the war in Iran tonight. Several new developments here. President Trump says talks with Iran have started, but it comes as the Pentagon now orders up 1,500 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne to the Middle East. And late today, the president at the White House now saying Iran sent a present. Rachel Scott at the White House tonight.
Even as President Trump claims peace talks are underway, tonight the Army is preparing to deploy up to 1,500 troops from the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East to support the war. The president has said he does not plan to put boots on the ground, but the soldiers of the 82nd are trained to parachute behind enemy lines. Their deployment on top of the 4,500 Marines and sailors expected to arrive in the region this week. It comes as President Trump and Iran send clashing messages about whether they're negotiating. Trump insists they are.
The leaders are all gone. Nobody knows who to talk to. But we're actually talking to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly.
Iran says that is simply not true, that there are no talks, and that Trump's statements are part of efforts to reduce energy prices and buy time for the implementation of his military plans. The president will not say which Iranian leaders the U.S. is talking to.
We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with that created all those problems.
Today, he cryptically noted that he knows Iran is going to make a deal because they just gave the U.S. what he called a very big present.
They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it, so that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
The White House would not say what exactly that gift is. The president would only say it's related to oil and gas passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian officials still insist there are no negotiations underway with the United States. But tonight, sources tell me the Trump administration has sent over a 15-point peace plan to Iran by way of Pakistan with hopes of ending this war, David.
You'll continue to follow this for us, Rachel. Thank you. Meantime, Iran tonight launching a new wave of airstrikes. ABC's Tom Soufi-Burridge on the scene of one of those strikes tonight.
Tonight, terrifying new video of an Iranian missile barrage raining down on Israel. This cluster missile streaking through the night sky. Air raid sirens blaring in Tel Aviv, sending crowds running for their lives. Interceptor missiles soaring to stop the attack. But tonight, this Iranian missile got through. Dozens injured, including children.
We just got down to the scene of one of tonight's missile strikes in central Israel. Look at how that apartment has been badly damaged in the blast. Israeli officials saying there have been 14 Iranian missile strikes in the past 24 hours. The Pentagon tonight releasing new images of devastating strikes on Iran's military. Dramatic video showing the moment rescuers found this survivor buried in the rubble after a reported Israeli-US strike near Tehran. A child and his father pulled from this damaged building alive. And David, a senior Israeli security official telling me the US and Israel need a few more weeks to take out Iran's remaining missile launchers. David?
Tom Soufi-Burridge for us from Tel Aviv. Tom, thank you. Tonight, the war in Ukraine now. Russia launching its largest attack since the start of the war. Video showing the moment Russia struck a building in the historic center of Lviv. Russia unleashing 982 drones across Ukraine over a 24-hour period. Tonight, Ukraine says hundreds of drones were intercepted, at least 7 people killed, dozens wounded. Tonight, an American citizen held prisoner in Afghanistan has been released by the Taliban now. Dennis Coyle, an academic researcher from Colorado, freed after being detained more than a year. He was accused of violating Afghan laws, but specifics were never given. The U.S. State Department tonight saying he was wrongfully detained. Back here in the U.S. tonight, the wife on the stand, her husband, a doctor, charged with attempted murder. He's accused of trying to push her off the cliff on a hiking trail. And what she testified today, he said to her as he allegedly came at her with a syringe. Here's Trevor Ault.
And nothing but the truth? Yes, I do.
Tonight, chilling testimony from the wife of a doctor who came face to face with the husband that she says tried to kill her on a Hawaiian cliffside.
He grabbed me really forcefully by my upper arms, and he said, "I'm so sick of this. Get back over there." And he starts pushing me back towards the cliff.
Arielle Konig describing the moment exactly a year ago when she says her husband, Dr. Gerhard Konig, attacked her during a hike on her birthday.
He had a syringe in his hand, and he says, "Hold still." And I see the syringe, and I just kind of like bat it away.
The wife and mother testifying she tried reasoning with her husband.
Our kids will be orphans. You'll go to jail, and I'll be dead. Like, you have to stop. And again, he's saying, like, "You're done. We're done with you."
That's when Arielle says the violence escalated.
And then he just starts hitting my face and my head with a rock.
2 women hiking nearby say they heard her screams and found Konig on top of his wife.
We hear a woman's voice say, "We're here, and we're calling 911.
Someone's currently being attacked on the top of Polituka. Where? There's a man trying to kill her.
Arielle needed stitches for a head wound. She suffered a fractured thumb and says it took months to recover.
To your knowledge, you did not lose consciousness, correct?
To my knowledge, I did not lose consciousness, correct?
Gerhard Konig's attorneys claim he acted in self-defense. They say Arielle started the fight after he confronted her over a relationship with a coworker.
And David, Arielle Konig testified 2 months before the alleged attack. Her husband tried to get her to buy more life insurance. If convicted, he could potentially face life in prison. David.
All right, Trevor Ault on this case again tonight. Trevor, thank you. Late today, the jury's decision in a major civil trial against Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Jurors in Santa Fe, New Mexico, ordering the company to pay $375 million for thousands of violations of that state's consumer protection law. The jury finding Meta is harmful to children's mental health and puts them at risk of child sex exploitation. Meta tonight denying the allegations, vowing to appeal the case separate from another landmark social media trial underway in California. When we come back here tonight, the massive explosion and fireball at an oil refinery in Texas. Residents told to shelter in place for a time, what we've learned. Also, a driver plowing into a crowd, multiple injuries, several life-threatening. Police then making a DUI arrest. More on this in a moment. Trader Joe's tonight with a major recall affecting 43 states. We'll have more. And hiding in plain sight, look at this tonight. There's something on that shelf of stuffed animals that isn't quite what it seems. We'll be right back. A lot more news ahead. Tonight, a massive explosion at an oil refinery in Port Arthur, Texas. The Valero facility erupting into flames last night. Residents told to shelter in place for a time. That fire now out. No word what set it off. No injuries reported. Tonight, disturbing video here of a driver plowing into a crowd. This is downtown Lexington, Kentucky. The Tesla backing up, then surging forward, hitting multiple people, several injured. The driver then driving the wrong way down a one-way street. 3 officers pulling the 20-year-old driver out. Cadence Carpenter now facing assault and DUI charges. When we come back tonight, Trader Joe's in a major recall this evening, and then the big news tonight involving Celine Dion in a moment. To the index of other news, a recall of Trader Joe's frozen food items now expanding tonight, involving 10 million pounds of vegetable fried rice sold in 43 states. Earlier recalls involved other fried rice and some chicken products. Concerns over packages potentially contaminated with glass. No injuries reported. We have more on our website. Tonight, Celine Dion appearing to tease a big comeback in France. 250 posters featuring her most famous songs, including My Heart Will Go On, appearing on lampposts across Paris. Dion hasn't toured in years while grappling with a rare health issue. French media tonight reporting she will perform in Paris twice a week in September and October. Tonight, the stuffed animals on the shelf, but one was alive. This is at an airport shop in Australia, a live possum next to the stuffed kangaroos and koalas. The video viral for days now. Tonight, a spokesman at the airport now saying they believe the possum got in on a work site because the airport is undergoing major renovations. When we come back here tonight, the father and a 6-year-old daughter both trapped in a rip current, how they were saved, and that hero right here tonight. Tonight, America Strong, the father and his little girl trapped in a rip current, and then the hero. Tonight in Oceanside, California, outside San Diego, a life-saving rescue authorities are now calling an act of heroism. Out in the ocean, 6-year-old Coco Green, her father Chris jumping in, trying to save her from a rip current. She was playing along the water's edge when she lost her balance and was suddenly pulled in. Her father reaches her, but then both were in trouble, trapped in a strong rip current. That's when surf instructor Lucas Taub noticed, and without hesitating, he jumped into the water, swimming to both of them. He grabs them and leads them both back to land. You can hear Coco calling out. That surf instructor getting both father and daughter to safety, picking her up and carrying her up the rocks. And right here tonight,
hey David, good evening.
That brave surf instructor, Lucas.
Lend a helping hand when you can. If you see something, going wrong, act. Don't just stand there. Hey, appreciate you having me on. Have a great evening.
And joining us too, that father and daughter, grateful to Lucas, who saw them and saved them.
I get a little emotional because I honestly didn't think I was going to make it. I mean, I was too far away, and she was already in over her head. Then I look up, I heard, honestly, I call it the voice of an angel. And once he got to us, I knew we were good. I knew we were okay then. But he's just an awesome human being. He's a real good dude.
A real good dude for sure. Lucas celebrated by that community tonight, and a father and daughter safe. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.